Hello everyone and welcome to the Renovation and Outdoor Living Show. This is Tuesday the 29th of September, almost the last day of September, and also the last time though we're going to be doing the show on a Tuesday because we had our 50th episode on Friday, but because summer's on its way, the lockdowns are being eased, we've decided to put all of our energies into just one episode a week on Fridays when there tend to be more people looking for that sort of renovation advice. We'll be starting that next week. So no more Tuesdays. Fridays now the day to tune in or click on, as is probably more likely. So a quick recap of last Friday when we were in the garden. The sun was out, summer was here. We thought, it's not anymore. It meant it was the perfect day to talk about this amazing new product from New Range. It was called the Wave Shade. I'd never seen this before. It's such a great idea. Zoe Wood from New Range told us about it. It's brilliant, it's versatile, it's retractable, it's cleanable, and it's a sunshade system for pretty much any outdoor area. Well worth checking out. And then we talked to the wonderful Angie Thomas from Yates, who we've met a couple of times on the show, and she's our horticultural expert. She talked about getting the kids into the garden, what they love doing, what we should be encouraging them to do, let them get dirty, let them eat the produce as they're harvesting whatever they've grown, and also, of course, why it is so healthy for them to have an interest in the garden, and particularly in the veggies that they're actually growing. So today's theme, well, it's all about the use of space in the home, especially given how we're now using our homes for all sorts of purposes we may not have traditionally used them for. I'm thinking gyms, and more likely and extra play areas, but also more likely home offices, which is, of course, the big buzz in the renovation world, given what's going on globally at the moment with COVID. So when it comes to versatility of space, there's one innovation that needs our attention, and it is the almighty brilliant cavity slider. It's a solution to so many problems. Now, Nick Bridge is general manager for CS Group, which includes branches throughout New Zealand, Australia. And also, Nick, you're in the US as well, is that right?
Yes, that's right. We started exporting to the US a few years ago.
So, but you're based in New Zealand?
Yes, we are. We manufacture everything here in Auckland.
That's fantastic. So it's a local manufacturer. And so here's the thing. I'm looking at the notes about you and saying you're passionate about cavity sliders. It's a difficult one at a dinner party, isn't it? What do you do? Oh, I'm just passionate about cavity sliders. But as I said, they are brilliant things.
They really are. They're absolutely growing in popularity day by day.
So what is it about? I mean, how and where can we use these typically we use them, first of all, to save space, I guess.
Correct. So the typical use for a cavity slider is in a small room, like an ensuite or a bathroom or a laundry, or anywhere really where the swing of the door takes up space or perhaps clashes with a towel rail or an appliance. So anywhere you want to save space, put a cavity slider in, door slides in the wall, you open up the whole room.
Nothing new there, but I imagine that it's because I mean it's sort of although having said that, I guess the sliders didn't used to be cavities so much, did they? So I guess the innovations are in how easily you can hide the slider doors.
Yeah, originally the concept of sliding a door between two walls was the way to go. But we've perfected the art of actually having it slide within the wall, so within a standard 90mm frame, which is typical framing size. So literally the product we sell becomes the wall itself.
Yeah, and I actually know this because I think I might have a couple in our home, and it's for exactly what you said. It was building a built-in wardrobe into a bedroom, and then when we redid an ensuite, which is much smaller than this. Look at this. This is absolutely fantastic. So this is a double-angled cavity slider. Talk me through this product.
Yeah, well, this is a corner meeting, a 90-degree meeting. So we talked about the sort of typical standard size cavities, but more and more people want versatility of space. So they want to be able to open up a large room into multiple spaces or shared zones. This particular one has two doors which come at an angle and meet to seal off and effectively create another room within a room.
Yet, if you want the feeling of space, you just keep them open.
Correct, absolutely.
That's really, really clever. What about automation? Because every innovation we seem to talk about on this show in the renovation space, there's an element of automation.
100%. And with the focus on hygiene since COVID-19 came along, there's a big push for touchless and hands-free automation. We've been doing automation for about 15 years in the commercial side of things, and more recently developed the residential, which is essentially a cavity slider with a motor integrated on top of it, and you can have that operating on a light switch or plugged into your home automation. Perfect when you're coming out of the car into the garage and your hands are full and you want to get through the house.
So how does it activate? So is
it's essentially just an open and closed motor on a belt, all hidden inside the wall. You can have any switch you like. So typically that's just a hand wave sensor, an infrared sensor you wave your hand over, or you could have a sensor like in a shopping mall above the door, or even indeed a light switch or remote control.
And people are using these in their homes now. That's
Absolutely.
So, have you got as far as the was it Starship Enterprise? The days when, as a kid, with the old shh and the door would always open. That's what I don't fancy. I'm just going to be able to make a sound and have the door open.
It's funny you should say that. So, not quite the sound, but we had a client just the other week, actually. 2 doors automated. The doors were cut in a zigzag panel with lines across to replicate the Star Wars entry doors.
And you did it?
Yeah, we did. Absolutely. It's really cool. It's being installed.
Now I get where the passion comes from, because that would just be the most awesome project to be given, wouldn't it?
It's a lot of fun. It's a hell of a lot of fun.
So you're there having to sort of create a bespoke type of door. Does that mean you can match other doors in a renovation so that you can integrate the whole thing?
Absolutely. So as I touched on, most of the hard work and the magic happens inside the wall, the bit you don't see. But what actually happens in the opening in terms of a door, we can match pretty much anything that you've got your site set on. So we can match other doors in the house or come up with something unique and new as well.
And the idea is when you're installing these, it's basically like a as you say, it's a big frame, which the door moves in and out of, and then the renovation then it has to jib up onto the sides.
That's correct. So the builder will frame, or whoever's doing the renovation will frame an opening twice the size of the door. There we go. Then the piece inside is an aluminium and timber pocket, essentially, which arrives with the door in it. It gets stood up and screwed into your outside frame. And then the plasterboard and tiles or what have you go on the outside, and away you go.
Yeah, it's clever, isn't it? So this is exactly what we've got. As I say, it's an ensuite and it's a walk-in wardrobe in our bedroom area, and we've put this on both of them, and they are brilliant, and they've transformed the way we live upstairs. And they are. That's an easy installation, isn't it?
So one look, the picture we just saw there, is standard size, is suitable for a home handyman. Give yourself an hour to put it in, no problems at all. When they get bigger and perhaps more complex, like the automation or the ones we saw earlier at the corner, take a qualified builder to put those in. Just a little bit more care required.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever attempt trying to do anything which has to be a perfect right angle with each other, like that bathroom one we saw. Any building regulations about this which can cause a problem, given the fact you're sort of effectively sort of adding a slab of wall in there?
No, not at all. It's not a structural element. So long as the wall is not load bearing, you can cut it open and put a cavity slider in. If it is load bearing, then the engineer needs to get involved and create a lintel for you. But no, there's no requirements. In fact, we even have a bracing cavity that if you need to brace the wall, as that's an element required, we can do that as well.
So let's say you had. Let's say you were trying to open up a living area, and it involved taking away maybe a wall which might be slightly load bearing. Is there any way which you could, rather than putting a big steel beam across the top, is there any way you could cheat it and get you guys to build something which had the sliding wall, so you could, we're going to be talking about this multi-purpose space shortly. There we go, something like this, but that also takes the place of the load bearing.
That's correct. That's floor to ceiling. That's so the track is actually hidden up inside the ceiling and attached to a structural member which is already in there. This sort of thing is really popular. So you've got, when it's closed, a feature of this dark grey black door, and when it's opened, it's seamless because there is nothing to see at all. It's floor to ceiling. There you go, that's the other side. Makes that cool feature of the formal living area, and then when it's opened up, you don't even know it's there.
That is fantastic, isn't it? And I guess that the cavity which it all slides into, which is obviously on the left-hand side behind that bit of sofa, behind those chairs, that bit is still load-bearing potentially.
Potentially, yes, it is. Above the cavity pocket. The cavity pocket itself doesn't take any load.
Yeah, okay, and obviously that takes a certain amount of engineering and make sure that you're getting it right with the build. So talk to me about the cost then. So that would be a real high-end cavity slider project, I guess. That one we just saw. What would that cost?
That one would be several thousand, maybe 5,000. Whereas the more typical one would be around the $500 mark for a sort of a plain, ready-to-paint door and a toilet, and everywhere else in between, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, because the $500 one is the one you can literally just pick up from your, I think. So you got, you just pick up from your warehouse or your office, and you take it home. And as you say, you can almost do it yourself. Not that I would. $5,000 though doesn't sound like a lot when actually you're creating an entire wall and 2 spaces.
Yeah, absolutely, and it really gives you that opportunity to open up that space. So there's we're all in love with open plan living, aren't we? But to be able to close the door and put the kids in one area or create an office space like you're going to talk about later, it's a real flexibility of space is a real advantage.
What sort of insulation can you get when you are talking about cutting spaces? And I'm thinking again back to that beautiful grey example, which is literally giving you, if you want your kids to go and hang out and watch the telly while you've got friends around the dinner table, how well insulated can it be? So
the pocket itself doesn't need to be insulated, as it's always an internal wall. The door can be sound rated for full acoustic properties, or in this case, this is an aluminium door. And that's got about the same properties as a solid core door. So stops conversational noise through and keeps heat in one room as well. Just another point on that photo while it's up. Using a door that big, made of timber, traditional methods, is susceptible to bowing. So we actually make these out of aluminium and supply them all painted, ready to go. So it's another little feature there.
Yeah, and again, that actually makes the $5,000 seem even more reasonable, doesn't it? That's not bad. Do they need servicing? Do you have to look after them a bit?
No, nothing at all. So because the mechanisms are all locked away inside the wall, we make sure that they come with a 10-year warranty. And we've never had a warranty claim in the 30 years we've been here. So nothing ever goes wrong with them. Maybe after 10 to 15 years, you may need to change the wheels, but that's all serviceable through the opening. And if you've added a soft close function, that might need taking out and servicing once in a while. But all that happens through the opening of the door. There's no carpentry required.
Yeah, and actually those soft close features, which I've got on my 2 doors up here, really, really effective. They're fantastic, particularly in a bedroom area.
Everyone wants soft close now. Everyone wants.
Yeah, because it's particularly kids around, it's too easy just to sort of slam them, because they are beautifully engineered. I mean, you don't have to drag them across, do you, anymore, like the old days?
100%. And the funny thing is, with those big doors, like the grey ones we saw, they're even smoother. Gravity works with you, and they're really smooth, really quiet.
Yeah, because they're a bit heavier as well, and that actually probably helps. Really good stuff, Nick. And we've got your website coming across the bottom, csfordoors.co.nz. Any more questions? That just fire them through to that website, and Nick will make sure that either he or somebody else will pick them up, so you can find out everything you want to do. Brilliant innovation, Nick, and I'm pleased to see. Just a final question though, you guys are always thinking about how to, I don't know, improve it. Obviously now you're doing the spaceship doors, that's cool, but I don't know if you're going to get a lot of orders, but do you have other stuff up your sleeve which you're working on?
Yeah, we try to come out with a new innovation every year. We've got one due to be released in January. The automation was the one we did this year. We've also come up with some new handles. There's lots of innovations. I think we've got about 13 different product ranges on our website at the moment.
Let's just very quickly, Helen's just written in with a question asking about what about putting one into an older home. So let's talk, we were talking last week about your classic turn of the century Victorian 1900s villa. How easy is it to be able to put one into a home like that?
It's very easy to get the right product for that, and if there is any issues, we can come out and help measure, and if you're out of Auckland, we can do drawings up for you to make sure we get it right. The biggest problem, of course, with the framing may be not 90mm thickness, so we'll make our reveals, which is the frame that you see, to suit your exact sizes, and a little bit more care with installation, because things might be a little bit twisted or floors might be a little bit uneven. But we can work through all of those things. We've got the expertise to help you with that.
And do you guys do that yourselves, or do you then work with, I mean, if you've got someone like Refresh who's doing the project, will they come and work with you and you'll say this is what you need to do, or do you just have a team who can come in and sort of smooth it all out?
So we would work with someone like Refresh. We would come in and meet with the homeowner to decide what they wanted, and with the builder to work out what their requirements are.
Yeah. Brilliant. And then you'll go away and work it out in the factory, and away you go. 100%. Awesome. Nick, thank you very much indeed. Great to see you. Have a great weekend. We'll catch up again soon.
Thank you very much.
And the reason why, because I want to move on quite quickly to our second guest, because I mean this works very well in together. You know, the utility of the cavity slider is to divide and also to open up spaces in the home. That's on top of the space saving. Space saving is one thing, but and you know, Nick mentioned it a number of times about the whole idea of the multi-purpose rooms. We've just seen them; they can serve several purposes, and that's what we want to talk about now. The options we can look at when it comes to multi-purpose rooms. Lee McDonald, renovation specialist with Refresh, all the way from Melbourne, live in Melbourne. I hope. There you are, Lee. Nice to see you.
Yes. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Yeah, nice to see you, mate. I mean, how often do you get inquiries into, multi-purpose rooms at the moment?
I would probably say majority of our inquiries at the moment are multi-purpose rooms. We've obviously, with COVID being in effect globally, I think a lot more people are now working multiple days from home, or they obviously do have to work from home, and potentially looking in the future that they may reduce their office hours to maybe 1 or 2 days a week. So they're now looking for, you know, maybe a garage at home, but maybe a back bedroom or a study that needs to be converted into something that gives them a little bit more of potentially private space during the day for business. But also looking at the weekend space for the kids, or the after hours, or the Friday night football on TV type space. So look, I think the inquiries for the moment are very, very high for that multi-purpose room.
And I wonder how often also where they might have traditionally been talking to you about maybe extending out the back, but you know, maybe the money's a bit tighter, and this is a very, very cost-effective way of almost achieving the same sort of thing, isn't it?
Exactly. I look on the picture on the screen at the moment is a recent garage conversion that we did. The very, very small house on a very small parcel of land. So they didn't really have the option to expand the actual home itself. That whole garage, and credit to the homeowners, that whole garage was full to the brim of things that they'd stored and accumulated over the years. So they cleared it all out, and we came in where the window is there. We took the garage door out, but we've created some storage on the right-hand side there. There's a TV on the wall. There's the fridge in the corner and the chest freezer. So it serves a different purpose for the time of day and for the day of the week.
The trouble is, all their other rooms in the house are now full of all the crap which came out of that garage.
Yeah, I think most people, when they're doing a garage conversion, have a look at, I'll get a skip bin for the rubbish and I'll get a storage container. Most of the time, more things go in the rubbish bin than they do actually go into the storage container. It's a case of, I'll use that one day, I'll keep it just in case. But I think you can see again from that the storage area in the back of that photo there, the white cabinetry. That's pretty much full to the brim of things like the Christmas tree and the decorations and things that you get to every so often.
So and that's interesting because the storage has to be one of the major features of a multi-purpose room, particularly if you're losing your garage.
Yeah, I think so. Look, and I think given I suppose the changing processes within house these days, the houses are getting smaller. I suppose houses sometimes are getting a little bit bigger, but the parcel of land is actually getting smaller. So this house is only probably 15 years old, but in that period of time, they've outgrown everything inside. So they were really looking for another space that could give them a separate living area. If they had friends over, the kids could come in here and they could still sort of sit out in the living room area. And I think the benefit of it is that it gives them something that they can use year round. It obviously has access to the backyard, so it still looks like a garage from the outside. We can't really change. You can dress the facade up a little bit, but it still looks like a garage door, traditional garage door opening. But when you're inside and you slide open a barn door, it's purely another room to the house, and that's why they loved it.
Although what you did there with where you've converted the doors into the windows, I think that probably does, from the outside, that would suddenly soften the look of it being a garage. It just then looks like, a very, very large window opening. Or do those windows also open back out onto the outside?
Yeah, they open up to the outside. So really, because the property wasn't that old, we were able to utilise the same manufacturer for windows. So we were able to match the window that was on the bedroom side to the garage side. So whilst one side was full brick, this side we did a sort of like an infill panel and then put the window in between. But the window dimensions are exactly the same as what's on the other side. So the obvious thing is there is a driveway. If you remove the driveway, then you would really be able to have just two front windows to a house.
Yeah. Now, the access into the other angle picture which we have of this space going into the house, did you have to widen again? Is this something you commonly have to do when you're designing? Is widen your access space from the home? Here you go. I mean, we talked about cavity sliders. This is a slightly different example, but it's a sliding barn door type sort of thing. This is the other area where you've had to pay real detail with the design.
Yeah, look, obviously with every project, you're going to have different requirements based on what the homeowner requires. And this was a simple swing door into the garage. But obviously, literally 180 degrees down the back hallway was a similar type opening. So what they wanted to do was put a barn door onto the back hallway and also match it with this barn door going into the garage or the new living space. So it was just a simple case that unfortunately the budget wouldn't allow us to put a cavity slider in. That would always be preference. In this case, obviously, in regard to the load-bearing wall, we decided to run the barn door on the outside or the hallway side and just a simple pelmet over the top. So it can be closed and opened very, very easily, and it gives them certainly an amount of privacy inside there as well.
And it shows how much design has to go into it, this multi-purpose sort of conversion. I mean, you've got to think through this, which is obviously something which you guys do in your process anyway.
Yeah, I think a big part of it too. And again, when we talk about multi-purpose rooms, it could be now the home office. It could be the kids area. So we're wanting to, I suppose, change the home automation, or we want to increase the amount of power points. We want to increase the amount of lights. We want to increase. It might be the simple HDMI cable down the wall to put an Xbox in the future. People are sort of trying to think, how am I going to utilize this room? As opposed to, the one on the screen, right? For instance, now the homeowner there was taking up a back bedroom and they wanted to grow the family. So the ultimate space for them, they had a very large driveway. So that was another garage conversion. But this particular homeowner wanted a space that sort of gave him the freedom. He was into design and virtual reality for real estate and other companies. So he needed a bit of inspiration. So he wanted his desk literally right in the middle. And he wanted to be able to utilize that space during the day. But he's also got the facility now that he's almost turned it into a home office where people can come into the office separate to the house. And now he can undertake meetings with fellow business people and still have that home office separation.
How often do your clients say, but I want to make sure that it can be turned back into a more traditional type of layout, because everyone's always thinking of resale at the back of their mind. I mean, that would be a good example, that home office. He's got access from the outside now, but that could quite easily become your fourth bedroom again.
Exactly. And I think that's the big thing. Unfortunately, it's a little bit of a crystal ball scenario, but the questions we quite often ask is, where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years? Are you going to want this, back into a garage? And especially younger families where they might have teenagers that potentially would have another car. So you all of a sudden have 3 or 4 cars in the driveway. It may not work. And depending on where you live, you may not have the street access. So it's consideration that we talk about in regard to the planning. How much do you want to go to? Are these things that can be removed? And I suppose the picture that we're showing just there was no rear access to the property. So in case of the planning for that, we had to install the cabinetry in the garage before we took the garage door out and put that window in. So it all sort of comes down to your planning and processing, and make sure that you've got everything, because those cabinets there wouldn't fit through the other single door. And it wasn't really a case that we could build them on site, but we had them built before, carried through the garage door, and we locked it up from there.
It's great. It's great when you hear stories of people saying, we actually planned for this, rather than we took the garage door out and then we realized we couldn't get the furniture in. So what would a space like that, though? I mean, that's how expensive a project would something like that be?
Look, again, everyone's budget's different and everyone's requirements are different. And I think that space there was, some high-level cabinetry. The cabinetry on the left-hand side there, with I suppose you call a bit of wall art, was quite expensive material. So overall, that project was around $40,000. It was quite a large garage area. Obviously, some good quality carpet. There's some good soundproofing, good lighting, but storage was a big factor for that as well. So the window seat there all had lift-up lids. So majority of the budget went towards ideally the right type of cabinetry to suit them for what they needed.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, that sort of cabinet, the sort of bespoke shelving there, that is not cheap. in any case. So that would take several thousand up in the first place. What about the garage, which we saw before, which has been turned into the sort of the family utility space or the kids utility space? How much would that? So a relatively straightforward conversion.
That was probably around about $10,000 less. That was sort of around the $30,000 mark, and I think, you probably have a look at that. We installed an air conditioning system, so we're obviously able to get the heating and cooling in there. We had all new lighting in there. Again, good quality carpet. We had some tiling in there under the fridge area, but we did also have a lot of electrical power points put in, just for the provision of TVs, for the desks to be moved. And obviously, it was a good quality window that we put back in that matched the existing in the property. So, but no, look, I think in regard those particular barn doors, we had 2 of them made. They were a specially made door. So again, whenever you get something specially made and you don't just grab it off the shelf, there will always be an increased cost. But that was the trade-off. They wanted that nice big wide opening, and the trade-off was we had to put a bit more of an expensive door onto there.
Yep, and to be honest, you talk about trade-offs, but these things always come back. They pay for themselves, either with through your own peace of mind as a homeowner, or when you come to sell the property. So it's always worth it, isn't it? Hey,
Exactly.
That's awesome, Lee. Thank you so much for giving us a little bit of an idea into some of the projects you're taking, particularly in being that in Melbourne, often space is a premium. So I get why you will be getting so many of these inquiries.
Yeah, look, I think as families grow, I think given the property prices, not only in Melbourne, but certainly around Australia and around the world, property prices are getting quite expensive. So I think young families aren't sort of necessarily going and buying their first home. They might be staying at home a little bit longer. So it might mean that we've sort of seen a bit of a trend towards open plan is always certainly preferred, but I think we're also looking at zones where we can have the parent zone and we can have the kids zone. So that's where these multi-purpose rooms can be, it's the kids on the weekend, but during the week it's the office building, or if it's arts and crafts or whatever that might be. So there is certainly a different change, but that's really where the planning comes into the stage on how you want to see that space being used. Might be a small kitchenette to be able to make coffee in, or it could be, a number of different things. That's really part of the refresh process, is that we go through to say, well, where can you see yourself, or how can you see yourself utilising this room?
And also, we're going to make sure we plan to get the bespoke furniture and shelving in before we actually rip the doors out.
Correct.
That's brilliant. Hey, thanks so much for that, Lee. Really good to have a chat. Let's do it again.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. That is Lee McDonald there from Refresh in Melbourne, giving us a bit of an insight into the sort of multi-purpose spaces which he's been creating in recent weeks. And also he was saying beforehand how they're getting so many inquiries for that sort of thing. Hopefully they'll get a bit more freedom of movement to actually get a bit more of the work done. So giveaways, very quickly. Now, last week we gave away the installation and the computer accessories. This week, these are our 5 LED desk lamps that clamp on. Now, to win this, you had to like the page and let us know your best work from home hack. Now, Karen Stewart, you have won one of these lamps, and you said that I can't give you my best work from home hack because I work as a rest home caregiver, so it's a bit difficult to do from home, but I would love to win the lamp. I live full-time in my caravan with terrible lighting at night, so this would be perfect to clamp on my table. Karen, it's yours. Tracy, you're next, and you said you try and get an hour of peaceful time. You'll get more done in that hour than you would the whole day with interruptions. Great bit of advice. Get an hour. I think if you tie children down, they can breathe probably for an hour. Please don't try that at home. Harry Ferry, you advised us to try and use your normal work schedule, including the breaks, etc. Stick to work practice. Another great bit of advice. Tracy obviously has a lot of interruptions, so she said, no, I need my 1 hour of peace. Harry, you're saying stick to your work practices. Jeremy Hawker, congratulations to you. You're going to have one of these. You said either have a separate area for working, or if you're taking over the kitchen table, make sure at the end of the day you wrap up everything and put it away. Separating your work and home is very important. Great advice, Jeremy. Thank you. And Susan, you were the last of our 5 winners. Susan Omer, a pre-made box of snacks and drink bottles for the kids so they're not starving every few minutes. That comes down to the lack of interruptions again. All 5 of you, awesome tips. Thank you. You're well-deserved winners of our desk lamps, and I hope they come in really useful. Now, remember, we've got the 3 sets of the kids' seed packets, which we're going to be giving away. You have to like our page. This is from Yates. You have to like our page and tell us the name of the book written by Angie Thomas, who was our guest on Friday last week, who's organised this prize for us. Okay, winners will be announced on the 9th of October, and finally the top 10 for this this Tuesday rather. Damn, is it not Friday? The top 10 hidden homes. These are cool. At number 10, this is the Dugout House in Texas. Isn't that awesome from front and back? This is 2 meters dug down into the ground. Absolutely sensational use of glass as well. At number 9, the bungalow under the pine trees. This is British Columbia in Canada. Obviously being done to almost working completely with that stunning landscape there. Now that was the green moss on the roof is also a really important part of the feature there to merge into the landscape. At number 8, these are houses on top of a shopping mall in China, Hunan. This is this shopping mall. Okay, the main building. The houses on the roof. This is a city of 4 million people. There's not much free space, so hey, build on the roof. Why not? At number 7, the Canyon Mansion in Utah in the US. Unbelievable. This was built in 1986 by a married couple whose dream was to live in a quiet place. It looks like something out of Star Wars almost. Number 6, this is the Villa Vals in Switzerland. What a stunning frontage. The authorities forbade erecting high building because that would spoil the landscape. So this is what they did. They went into the hillside. At number 5, the Cliff House in Chile. This is Coquimbo in Chile. It's a submarine-looking house. It has 2 levels, one of them completely underground. Henceforth, you cannot see it from the view looking out to sea, only from the cliff front. At number 4, this is the Lake Chalet in Hordaland in Norway. The main goal of this was basically to fully integrate it with the landscape, which is why you can't see it from the perspective on the left, because of the very cleverly sloping roof, which again has got that sort of grassy look to it to blend in. At number 3, top 3 hidden homes, the Desert Oasis in California in the USA. That's cool. We'll have a look at number 2. This is the Mirror Cube Hotel in Lapland in Sweden. That is extraordinary, isn't it? Mirrors, obviously, is henceforth it's called the Mirror Cube, is the trick there. And the number 1 hidden home in the world we found was the penthouse in a rock this is in Beirut, in Lebanon. It's like a bunker. That is incredible. Again, glass being your best friend in order to get the light into your home. Those are your top 10 hidden homes. Now, remember, we're not going to be here on Tuesday. From now, it's every Friday. We'll see you again this time next week. Have a great week and have a good weekend. Enjoy October. Bye-bye.